You ever wonder why some teams just click? They create something amazing together. And then other teams, with all the smartest people in the room, just completely fall flat. Well, it's a huge puzzle, but a really fascinating experiment gives us a massive clue.
So picture this, a simple team challenge. 4 people, 1 goal. But the teams themselves, let's just say the matchup is pretty surprising.
In one corner, you've got a team of really sharp, experienced business school students. And in the other corner, a team of kindergartners. Yeah, you heard me right, kindergartners.
Okay, so here's the challenge. Build the tallest tower you can using just 20 sticks of spaghetti, some tape, string, and you have to put a marshmallow right on top. So who's your money on? The business students, right? I mean, it seems like a total no-brainer.
Well, get this. In dozens and dozens of trials, the kindergartners built towers that averaged 26 inches tall. And the business students? Less than 10. So, how is that even possible? Well, that's the central question we are tackling today.
All right, let's unpack this whole mystery. And for this explainer, just think of us as your fun little study group for PP 5361, Theory and Management of Public Service Organizations. We're going to be diving into the required text, the culture code, and we're covering the first 6 chapters, which are all about one foundational idea, skill number 1, which is to build safety.
So what was really going on in that tower challenge? See, we tend to focus on what we can see, individual skills. But that's not what really matters. The business students, they were caught up in something called status management. They were politely, jockeying for position, trying to figure out who's in charge. Is it okay to criticize someone's idea? The kindergartners, they just grabbed this stuff and started working together, trying stuff out.
And this idea of safety, it's not just for building spaghetti towers. It affects every single team every single day. Take the bad apple experiment. Researchers secretly put an actor on a bunch of teams and told him to be either a jerk, a slacker, or just a total downer. And the result? Team performance absolutely plummeted by 30 to 40%. But there was one team that was totally immune.
So what made this one group so different? Well, they had a secret weapon, a guy we'll call Jonathan. When the bad apples started acting out, Jonathan didn't fight back. No. Instead, he did something really subtle. He just leaned in. He smiled. He laughed. These tiny little positive signals completely changed the dynamic in the room. They made it safe for everybody else to just ignore the negativity and get back to work.
And this illustrates the crucial point so brilliantly. Safety isn't just some nice-to-have, feel-good thing. It is the absolute foundation on which any high-performing group is built. It's not about being smarter, it's about being safer.
Okay, so if safety is the secret ingredient, how do our brains even detect it? Well, it turns out we are constantly speaking and reading a secret language, one that operates completely below the level of our conscious thought.
This secret language is built on what the book calls belonging cues. And think of them as these tiny microsignals. This isn't about big speeches or grand gestures. It's the small stuff, how close people stand to each other, the amount of eye contact, the energy in a conversation, and whether people are truly listening to each other. These cues are the constant, subconscious signals that answer the most important question for our brains. Are we safe here? And for these belonging cues to really work, they need 3 key ingredients. First, there's energy. You've got to show you're engaged and invested in what's happening. Second is individualization, making the other person feel seen and valued for who they are as a unique person. And finally, a sense of future orientation, a signal that this isn't just a one-time thing, but that this relationship is going to continue.
When you put those 3 qualities together, they send one powerful, unmistakable message to our ancient, vigilant brains. You are safe here. And the moment our brains hear that, it's like they flip a switch from danger vigilance mode to connection mode, which unleashes our ability to collaborate and create together.
Now, this might sound a little bit theoretical, but these principles play out in the real world in some incredibly high-stakes situations. Let's look at a few examples.
Back in 2002, Google was getting beaten by a rival called Overture. So one Friday, founder Larry Page printed out some of their failing ads, scrawled, "These ads suck" on them, and just pinned them to a wall. An engineer named Jeff Dean, who wasn't even on that team, saw it, got an idea, and just worked all weekend to fix it. He didn't ask for permission. The culture of safety and open debate just made it normal. And that fix, it basically became the lifeblood of Google.
Okay, here's another amazing one. An experimenter stood in the rain asking total strangers to borrow their cell phone. And not surprisingly, most people said no. But then they added just 6 simple words to their request. "I'm so sorry about the rain." With that one small change, compliance shot up by a staggering 422%. That simple sentence created an instant connection, a tiny signal of a shared experience that made people feel safe enough to help.
But maybe the most powerful example of all is the famous Christmas truce of 1914. It didn't happen because of some holiday magic. No way. It happened because for weeks, German and British soldiers had been sending these tiny belonging cues across no man's land. You know, little unofficial ceasefires during mealtimes, not shooting when the other side was gathering supplies. Signal by signal, they built up just enough safety to climb out of their trenches and shake hands.
So, the key takeaway here is that safety isn't some static thing that you either have or you don't. It's an active process. It's built through small, consistent actions, over and over again. So how can you start building it in your own teams? Let's get practical.
So a call center in India called Wipro had this huge turnover problem. They ran an experiment. One group of new hires got an extra hour of training focused on the company's identity. But another group, they got an hour focused on their individual identity and strengths. And 7 months later, that second group was 250% more likely to still be at the company. That one single hour of signaling, "We see you, you belong here as an individual," it made all the difference.
And finally, research from MIT gives us a really clear checklist of what this actually looks like in practice. It turns out the best teams aren't defined by what they talk about, but how they talk. It really comes down to a few key patterns. Everyone gets a chance to speak, there's a high level of energy in their interactions, and people talk directly to each other, not just through a leader. These are the behaviors that create a constant flow of those belonging cues. So that brings us to the end. Building safety isn't about grand, heroic actions. It's about the small, consistent signals. It's asking a question and then truly listening to the answer. It's a well-timed smile. It's acknowledging someone's contribution. Which leaves us with a final question for you to think about. What is one small signal of safety you can send to your group today?